My name is Evelyn Brooks, and I learned the hardest lesson of my life the day my only son chose someone else over the woman who had sacrificed everything for him. I raised him alone after my husband walked away when he was just a little boy. With no money, no support, and no easy path forward, I worked 2 jobs every day. I cleaned houses in the mornings and baked at a local bakery at night, often returning home too exhausted to stand. Every dollar I earned went toward rent, school supplies, groceries, and giving my son a future better than the one I had. I never bought nice clothes for myself or spent money on luxuries because watching him smile was enough to make every sacrifice worthwhile. As the years passed, my son Ethan grew into a respectful, hardworking young man who filled me with pride. We shared Sunday dinners, laughed over simple meals, and talked about everything. I believed nothing could ever come between us. Then he met a woman named Vanessa. At first, she seemed warm, charming, and respectful. She complimented my cooking, praised my little home, and made me believe she genuinely cared about Ethan. But behind her pleasant smile was someone who slowly began changing the man I had raised. She encouraged him to chase an expensive lifestyle, surround himself with wealthy people, and leave behind the simple values that had shaped his life. Little by little, Ethan changed. He stopped visiting every weekend, rarely answered my calls, and always claimed he was too busy. The warm conversations we once shared turned into rushed phone calls that lasted only a few minutes before he found an excuse to hang up. When I finally gathered the courage to tell him I was worried, everything fell apart. Instead of listening, he accused me of being jealous of his happiness and trying to control his life. Those words shattered my heart because every decision I had ever made was for his happiness. I never wanted to lose my son, but I could feel him slipping further away every day. Months passed without a visit. My little house became painfully quiet, and every morning I stared at the phone hoping it would ring. Every evening I looked through the living room window, praying his car would appear in the driveway. But the silence never ended. One evening I decided I could not wait any longer. I drove to Ethan's apartment, hoping we could finally talk face to face. My heart pounded as I stood outside his door and knocked. Vanessa answered instead. Without inviting me inside, she coldly told me that Ethan was home but did not want to see me. Then she looked directly into my eyes and said he wanted freedom from me because I had been holding him back. I waited, hoping my son would step into the hallway and tell me she was wrong. He never appeared. He stayed behind the closed door and allowed someone else to push his own mother out of his life. Fighting back tears, I walked away feeling as though I had buried the only family I had left. Life became lonely after that. Neighbors whispered about why my son had disappeared, and some quietly assumed I must have been a terrible mother. They never saw the years of sacrifice hidden behind those walls. They never knew about the nights I skipped meals so Ethan could eat, or the endless hours I worked just to keep our tiny family together. Even though my heart was broken, I never stopped loving him or praying that one day he would remember where he came from. Then, everything changed in a single morning. While reading the newspaper over breakfast, I froze when I saw Ethan's name in a heartbreaking story. Vanessa had been secretly involved with another man, and that man was Ethan's closest friend. My heart broke for my son, despite everything that had happened between us. I wanted to run to him, comfort him, and remind him he was not alone, but I feared he would reject me again. Before I could decide what to do, someone knocked on my front door later that evening. When I opened it, Ethan stood there looking completely defeated. His eyes were red from crying, his shoulders slumped with shame, and for the first time in years, I saw the frightened little boy I had once held in my arms. The moment our eyes met, he broke down. He apologized through tears, admitting he had ignored the one person who had always loved him without expecting anything in return. He confessed that he had been blinded by appearances, pride, and empty promises, only to discover too late that real love cannot be replaced by wealth or status. I wrapped my arms around him without hesitation, because no matter how deeply he had hurt me, he was still my son. Ethan moved back into my small home, and slowly we rebuilt the relationship we had almost lost forever. The laughter returned to our dinner table, the silence disappeared from the house, and for the first time in years, I could sleep peacefully knowing he was safe. People often ask how I managed to forgive him after everything he put me through. A mother's heart does not keep score. It remembers the little boy she raised long before it remembers the mistakes he made as a man. Families sometimes break under the weight of pride, manipulation, and poor choices, but forgiveness has the power to heal wounds that seem impossible to mend. My son learned that true happiness cannot be bought, and I learned that hope should never be abandoned. No matter how far someone drifts away, love can still guide them back home, and as long as I have breath, I will never stop loving my son.